I stood there in the lawyer's office, my hands shaking as my brother Jake and sister Lauren smirked at me like I'd finally been put in my place. "You always were the family doormat, Emily," Jake sneered, while Lauren checked her phone, probably calculating how she'd spend her share. The lawyer cleared his throat and began reading the document we'd all waited for. Then he reached one single sentence and froze mid-word, his face going pale. My greedy siblings had demanded everything, and I gave it to them exactly as they wanted. But that one sentence changed everything. If you're watching this and you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you, hit subscribe right now, because this is the story of how I turned their greed into their biggest nightmare. I never thought my own family would turn on me like that. My name is Emily Thompson, and for most of my life I believed family was everything. I grew up in a beautiful home in suburban Ohio with parents who seemed to have it all. Dad was a successful businessman, and Mom managed the household with grace and quiet strength. I was the oldest at 35, and I had always been the responsible one. While my younger brother Jake chased get-rich-quick schemes and my sister Lauren focused on her social media influencer dreams, I stayed close to home. I worked as a marketing coordinator, helping build Dad's company from the sidelines while making sure Mom never felt alone. Life felt normal until Dad passed away 5 years ago. That's when the cracks started showing. Mom leaned on me more and more. I moved back in to help with her health issues, cooking meals, driving her to appointments, and handling the endless paperwork that comes with aging. Jake and Lauren would visit maybe twice a year, always with excuses. "Work is crazy," Jake would say while flashing his new watch. Lauren would kiss Mom and leave after an hour, posting pictures of her family time for likes. I didn't mind at first. I loved Mom, and I thought that's what family did. You show up even when it's hard. Then Mom got really sick. Cancer came fast and took her slowly. I quit my full-time job to care for her full-time. Nights blurred into days as I held her hand through chemo appointments and painful treatments. Jake and Lauren sent flowers occasionally and made vague promises to visit more. But it was always me there at 3 in the morning when Mom couldn't sleep from the pain. I sold my car to cover medical bills that insurance wouldn't touch. I stopped dating and put my own dreams on hold because Mom needed me. In her final months, she would squeeze my hand and whisper, "You're my rock, Emily. I see you." Those words kept me going. When Mom passed peacefully in her sleep, I felt a hole in my heart that nothing could fill. The funeral was beautiful but tense. Jake and Lauren showed up dressed in designer black, looking more annoyed than grieving. At the reception, Jake pulled me aside. "Listen, Em, we need to talk about the estate. Mom had assets and we all deserve our share. Don't try to drag this out." Lauren nodded, adding, "Yeah, you've had your time playing nurse. Now it's time to divide things fairly." I was stunned. Fairly? I had given years of my life while they lived freely. But I nodded, swallowing my hurt. I still believed we could work through it as family. The reading of the will was scheduled for the following week. In the days leading up, Jake and Lauren's true colors exploded. They started pressuring me daily. Jake showed up at the house demanding to see bank statements and inventory lists. He laughed when I showed him the medical bills I'd paid out of pocket. "Should have been smarter with money, sis. We can't all play martyr." Lauren went further. She posted subtle social media hints about family greed and how some people try to hoard everything. Friends who had seen me at Mom's bedside started believing I was the villain. My own aunt called to scold me for not sharing with your siblings. The betrayal cut deep. These were the people I had defended my whole life. Then came the workplace sabotage. I had gone back to a part-time job at a local firm after Mom's passing. Jake had connections there through old college buddies. Suddenly, my performance reviews turned negative. Projects I led got reassigned with no explanation. One afternoon, my boss called me in and said there had been complaints about me neglecting work for personal family drama. I was let go with a small severance. That same week, the landlord raised the rent on Mom's house, claiming new ownership terms. I was drowning in grief, debt, and isolation. At my lowest point, I sat on the floor of the empty living room surrounded by Mom's things, crying until I had no tears left. "Why did I give everything for people who never cared?" I whispered to the walls. That rock bottom became my turning point. I remembered Mom's private journal she had given me months before she died. In it, she detailed every visit, every promise broken, and every time Jake and Lauren had asked her for money behind my back. She had also shared her fears about their greed. "I know you'll do right by the family, Emily, but protect yourself too," she wrote. I reached out to a sharp estate lawyer named Mr. Harlan who specialized in complex family matters. We met in secret. He reviewed everything, and together we crafted a plan that was completely legal but brilliantly strategic. I decided to give Jake and Lauren exactly what they thought they wanted. I stopped fighting their demands and acted defeated. "Let's just get this over with," I told them over a tense family dinner. They smirked, exchanging glances like they had won. I signed preliminary agreements letting them believe I would split everything evenly after probate. Behind the scenes, Mr. Harlan helped me structure the assets into a revocable trust with specific conditions. Mom had left the bulk of her estate, including the family business shares, investment accounts, and the house to me with provisions for the others. But I added layers they couldn't see coming. I also gathered years of financial records showing how Jake had borrowed from Mom without repaying and how Lauren had convinced her to invest in failed schemes that benefited only Lauren's lifestyle. The big day arrived. We sat in Mr. Harlan's office, the air thick with anticipation. Jake lounged in his chair, bragging about the vacation he would take with his share. Lauren scrolled through luxury real estate listings. Mr. Harlan began reading the main will. Everything seemed straightforward at first. The house would be divided, the accounts split. My siblings nodded eagerly. Then he reached the key clause I had helped craft based on Mom's wishes and my evidence. He read the sentence aloud: "Any beneficiary who has received undisclosed loans or inducements from the deceased totaling over $50,000 within the last 5 years shall have their distribution placed into a managed trust with repayment required before full access and full public disclosure of records if contested." Mr. Harlan froze as the words sank in. Jake's smirk vanished. Lauren's phone slipped from her hand. The sentence hit like a bomb because their own actions were now legally binding against them. Jake had taken over $70,000 in loans for his failed businesses. Lauren had pushed Mom into investments that funneled money back to her lifestyle brand. Records proved it all. Mr. Harlan continued calmly, explaining that contesting would trigger audits and public filings. Their greed had trapped them. I sat quietly, watching their faces turn from triumph to panic. Jake jumped up. "This is ridiculous. Emily, you set this up." Lauren started crying about how unfair it was. But the evidence was ironclad. Mr. Harlan presented the documentation Mom had meticulously kept and I had organized. Their lawyer, who had been so confident earlier, now shuffled papers nervously. He whispered to them that fighting would only expose more and cost them everything. In the end, they had no choice but to accept the terms. They received smaller portions after repayments, and the rest went into trusts they couldn't touch freely. The family business shares, which they thought would make them rich, stayed under structured management where I retained oversight. The confrontation after the meeting was intense but controlled. Jake yelled in the parking lot, accusing me of betrayal. "How could you do this to your own blood?" I looked him straight in the eyes for the first time without shrinking. "I gave you exactly what you demanded, Jake. You wanted the money and the power, but you never wanted the responsibility or the truth. Mom saw everything." Lauren tried to guilt me with tears, but I simply said the only person who truly cared for Mom was me. And now the records show it. They stormed off, but not before I blocked their numbers and changed the locks on the house. In the months that followed, life transformed. I used my portion of the estate wisely. I restarted my career on my own terms, launching a small consulting firm, helping caregivers navigate family and financial challenges. The house became a place of peace instead of pain. I renovated Mom's favorite room into a cozy reading nook where I could feel close to her. Jake and Lauren faced their own consequences. Jake's business partners distanced themselves after whispers of the family audit. Lauren's influencer following dropped when old posts about family values clashed with the quiet truth that spread through our circles. They tried reaching out once with half-hearted apologies, but I kept boundaries firm. Looking back, I realized the greatest revenge wasn't the money or the legal clauses. It was reclaiming my worth and honoring Mom's legacy without letting greed destroy it. I learned that kindness doesn't mean being a doormat. Sometimes protecting yourself is the most loving thing you can do for the people who truly matter. If you've been through family betrayal, know this: you are stronger than their lies. You deserve peace and justice. Thanks for listening to my story. Drop a comment with your own experiences if you're comfortable, and remember to like and subscribe for more tales of karma and quiet strength. This is Emily Thompson signing off with a heart that's finally free.